Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro. 1, 2, 3.
All right, what's up, Las Vegas? Back at you live on a Tuesday. Oh, yeah. Hope everybody had a great holiday presidential weekend. Glad to be here with you all, Sharp and Shapiro. We played a best of yesterday. And I don't know, was I supposed to say that? Were you supposed to think we were live? Well, we weren't. But we're back at you. Everyone had a nice 3-day weekend, I would hope. Boy, do we have a lot to get to today. I have been saying that a lot lately. If you haven't noticed, the news is, there's a lot going on, especially right here in Nevada. We're certainly going to talk about Mike Bloomberg. He is going to be on the stage for the presidential debate, Democratic presidential debate tomorrow, which is happens to be right here in Las Vegas. So we'll get to that here in just a few minutes. A couple candidates that are running for president on the Democratic side do not know who the president of Mexico is. We're going to talk a little bit about that coming up. And then it's always fun to have her on. Always love having her. Congresswoman Dina Titus will be joining us at the bottom of the hour. She has decided to endorse Joe Biden as president. We'll ask her a little bit about that, why she didn't attend the State of the Union address. That and much more with Dina Titus coming up at the bottom of the hour. And then news broke very late Friday morning. In fact, the news broke about 10 minutes before we were off the air that Michael Avenatti was found guilty of extortion in the Nike trial. So we're going to have AP reporter Larry Neumeister joining us. He was in the courtroom when the verdict was read, so he's going to be joining us coming up in the 10 a.m. hour, and we are going to cover it, and I will give you my thoughts on it. JD will give you his thoughts on it, and we will be talking about that coming up in hour number 2. As you know, the late, great Jerry Tarkanian, boy, what a legend. I mean, I don't even know what else to say. The man did so much for Las Vegas. He brought a national championship to Las Vegas. His son, Danny Tarkanian, has been on our show a number of times. Love having Danny on. He's got a new book out called Rebel with a Cause. So Danny will be joining us coming up in hour number 3. So stay tuned for that. So plenty to get to, plenty to go over there. And our producer, Jason Stein, is in studio because, he decided to take another vacation. And he took Friday off, which is what he normally does. He takes off more days than anybody. I know he takes off more days than the president plays golf. Jason, thank you for being here. How was your weekend?
Nice to be back. Thanks, Brian.
You might want to put on your microphone there. Yeah. See, that's why you're a producer and you're not a show.
It's not me. It's
I still can't hear you.
There we go.
It's on.
We have some new people that are very good, but just learning the ropes.
It is
Don't
lighting
blame me.
up blue.
I'll blame them.
Including yourself, by the way. All right. So how was your weekend?
It was fine. Yeah, I went.
I don't really care, but I need to ask anyway. Yeah. How was it? Didn't you visit your wife?
Kill a few minutes.
You visited your
wife?
wife?
My wife was in another
It's
state.
just a formality for him.
If there's anything I kill, it'd be you and not a few minutes. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you.
How was your weekend?
Those spikes on your head could probably kill someone.
Yeah. By the way, speaking of which, I do want to mention this because I always forget. We are broadcasting live on YouTube. Just check out the YouTube page, The Vegas Take, where we broadcast live there every single day. We're on all forms, social media platforms. JD, how was your weekend? I have to ask both of you to be fair.
I didn't even get the answer.
Well, because nobody cares. All right, go ahead. I asked you 3 times, and I gave you an opportunity to answer.
And everyone kept interrupting me.
Answer the question!
There were some insults thrown in there.
Answer the question!
Very
peppered
standard.
in there.
I'm sorry, I sound like John McEnroe.
I thought it went really well.
Look,
All right, how was your weekend?
I went back to Wisconsin. I visited my wife, and I helped my sister. She's the cookie captain, the Girl Scout cookie captain.
Yeah.
For 2 troops. And so we had to go pick up the Girl Scout cookies at the warehouse. Have you ever done that?
Yeah, the actual
Yeah.
where you're talking the place where are they made there? Do you watch them? Do you watch this like a factory?
No, it's just a bunch of boxes.
You see all these different cookies being made and you get to try them all out. And
I
there's
wish.
there's
All
like
right,
3
so
or 4
can
cooks.
I just say, in my mind, I've already changed the station. Like, in my mind, I've turned the dial
No,
already.
that's not true because suburban moms love this stuff.
In my mind,
They can relate.
In my mind, I just put on a racist. No, wait, let's not
But
go
no,
there.
I've never seen the Girl Scout
We
cookie
squeezed
factory.
215 cases. Each case has 12 boxes of Girl Scout cookies. 215 cases we squeezed into 2 SUVs and a car.
All right, well, at this point, I'm really sorry I asked you how your weekend is because we've already spent a couple minutes on stupid Girl Scout cookies. So, all right, it sounds like you had a very exciting weekend.
I'll have you
Thank
know that I purchased 6 boxes of Girl Scout cookies from the Veterans
6
of Politics
boxes of
event,
ziti. I made 6 boxes of
and
ziti.
I ate them in 3 days.
All right. Can we talk about anything else about our weekend? Okay, I'll talk about my weekend. Okay?
6 boxes of Girl Scout cookies, 3 days.
All right. Well,
felt sick for about a week after.
Well, you're always sick. You've never been healthy.
That's a blatant lie.
You've never been
healthy. That
healthy.
is an absolute fallacy.
You have never come in here and not had stomach cramps or been sniffling or had an issue with your house where you're not feeling well or somebody in your family has a cold. You have never walked in here 100% healthy. Jason, help me out on this one. Has he ever walked in here 100% healthy?
What?
Ever. He's got his pills. Look, he's got pills in front of him. What are those things?
It's Claritin D.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You have never walked in here without some sort of medication.
JD has a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
And when you have children, you're sick all the time.
I have a 2-year-old, and I just was dealing with a black mold issue in my home, and it has been affecting my health. And so I have to now. I never used to take anything, but now I have to take stuff like Claritin D, and there's a bunch of things that I have to do now that I didn't have to do.
All right, so I'm
2
helping
years
with
ago.
Girl Scout cookies. He's sick with family. What? Let's talk about your weekend.
That's why he asked, because he wants to be able to take. He wants to take the spotlight and explain how amazing his weekend was.
It's not true. I really care about your Girl Scout stories. It's very exciting to me. But I played tennis yesterday and for 3 hours, and I haven't played in like 4 or 5 months. Not only did I pull my groin, but I'm serious. You guys are laughing. Go ahead, keep laughing at my suffering. I did pull my groin, by the way, and I did a split trying to get a ball back, and unfortunately 2 balls were the ones that suffered. I also hurt my neck, my lower back. I'm being serious now. My lower back is so bad, I might go to an Asian massage parlor and not ask for a happy ending. That's how much I'm hurting right now. I actually seriously, like if the lady said to me, do you want a happy ending, and pointed there, I'd say no. I would point to my back area. That's how much I'm hurting right now. I'm serious.
Do they call it a happy ending, or do we call it a happy ending? That's not what they call it.
I don't care what they call it. I'm just saying I'm hurting so bad I wouldn't want sexual pleasure. I would want my back to feel better.
I'm actually interested in the vernacular from the masseuse perspective as far as a happy ending as well.
Okay. Well, I'm telling you guys the truth. I'm suffering here. I don't want a happy ending.
Did you win? Or did you play someone? Was it one-on-one, or who did you play against?
One-on-one.
Yeah,
we're not
tennis.
playing basketball.
No, I'm talking about tennis.
Yeah, who'd you play? You don't have any friends that are athletes.
That's not true. Well, certainly not you guys. That's for sure.
I mean, did you just hit a ball against a wall?
The appropriate term would be, did you play
style?
Singles or doubles, not one-on-one. I played singles.
Did you win?
Yes, I did, but I'm hurting. See, you got the adrenaline going when you're playing.
Sure, yeah.
So I didn't feel a lot of the pain, but I played 4 sets, which is way too much for me.
You got to stretch beforehand.
I did.
Who'd you play? Who'd you play singles with?
A guy in his 50s. That's a very good player.
Okay, a guy in his 50s. All right, let's move on.
No, he's a really good player. Really good. And when we play singles, he makes me work.
Are you talking 51 or 59?
No, early 50s.
Okay.
He's good.
Did you meet him online?
He's in better shape than me, that's for sure.
So he's not almost a senior citizen?
No, he's not a senior citizen. He's actually very good. So anyway, I overdid it yesterday. I was supposed to go out with someone last night to dinner, and I had to cancel that because I was in that much pain.
There it is. That's all I wanted to say right there.
Instead,
I just wanted to let the audience and me and Stein know that he had a date, probably with an attractive woman.
And then, Saturday, Sunday, there were days of, betting on sports and having a good time. But unfortunately, I didn't go on any Girl Scout adventures. But anyway, let's get to the big news, which is right here in Nevada. Of course, the caucus. It's Nevada caucusing, folks. And the big news that is making national news is the fact that Michael Bloomberg, former mayor of New York, who has not been on a presidential stage yet, has never been, by the way, in his entire life. Not a lot of people know a ton about him. And yet he is polling at 19% nationally. And the news just came out. He is going to be on the debate stage in Las Vegas tomorrow night. This is a big story. Listen, I cover politics. It's part of my job. And I can tell you right now, I don't know a ton about Bloomberg. So, Stein, you've been talking to a lot of these candidates, a lot of their media people, and we're trying to get some of them in studio this week. So you've been monitoring this story about Bloomberg. What can you tell us? What is going on with this?
The poll you talk about is an NPR PBS NewsHour poll. 19%, only second to Bernie Sanders, who's sitting at 31%. And so you got to ask yourself, why you don't know anything about Bloomberg other than he was the former mayor of New York, and he's got this crusade against, for gun control. But other than that, it seems like every time the guy's in the news the last couple of weeks is defending himself against something controversial or that he said. So that leads me to believe, my political analysis is that Democratic voters are looking for someone that can beat Trump, right?
Yeah, well,
because what do we know about him?
Well, here's what we do know. I'm so glad you brought that up. So we talked a little bit about this last week, and I want to play you a little bit of audio from it. This was back in 2013. And back in 2013, he did a radio interview. And it was in regards to stop and frisk. And he's taking a lot of slack for this because a lot of people are saying the comments he made were racist. The policy was racist. And by the way, you can make that argument. Listen to what Michael Bloomberg said about stop and frisk dating back to 2013.
They just keep saying, oh, it's a disproportionate percentage of a particular ethnic group. That may be, but it's not a disproportionate percentage of those who witnesses and victims describe as committing the murder. In that case, incidentally, I think we disproportionately stop whites too much and minorities too little.
All right, now here's my problem with that. First of all, now when he's running for president, he decides to apologize. You know what? I was wrong. I'm sorry. Well, you need a better explanation to African Americans and minorities that suffered in your city for years because of this ridiculous policy where they really don't have to know a lot about you or suspect a lot about you to, as he said, push somebody against a wall and stop and frisk them.
Right, and that's a 2013 radio interview he did, but the one that we're not going to play it, it's very long, but the other piece of audio that people are jumping on is the one from, I think, 2015, where, like you said, he was caught saying, you know, hey, it's stop and frisk is easy in New York. You just find a black guy that's in his teens and that fits the profile, and you throw him up against the wall, and that way there are no guns on the street because these guys are like a Xerox. They're all the same.
Listen, I'm not a Bloomberg guy.
That's the one that everyone's saying he's racist, and that's the one Trump called him racist over.
Well, here's the problem with Donald Trump. He needs to shut up when it comes to this policy because he was for it, and we have audio of him supporting this policy.
What Trump said was that it worked. There was that Trump that stop and frisk was effective.
He supported the policy.
Which it kind of was effective.
Well, ask a lot of the minorities that were frisked for no reason and ask how they feel about it. I don't think it worked for them. While maybe crime rate might have been down and maybe statistically it might have worked, it's also, in my personal opinion, it should be illegal.
By the way, homicides in Las Vegas are down 40% in the last 2 years.
Is that because of stop and frisk?
That just came out today.
Is it? Okay.
That because of stop and frisk?
It is not.
Oh, no. Okay. All right.
Jay, you're the king of non sequiturs.
But it is topical and it is relevant to our audience.
Okay.
By the way, did you hear that more men on Bumble are giving women oral sex? Did you hear about that one? It has nothing to do with
totally different, bro.
Might have something to do with stop and frisk.
He's in the criminal justice realm. He's in the vicinity.
All right, so
it's close.
All right, it's close. You're right. It was close. Mine was
much closer.
Completely inappropriate. Mine. Okay. So anyway, going back to the stop and frisk thing, my problem with it is that now he's apologizing for it, and I think it's too little, too late. And then he took a page from the Donald Trump playbook. He's talking about farmers in a sit-down interview in 2016 at Oxford Business School. This is really weird. Have a listen to this right here.
Anybody, even people in this room, so no offense intended, to be a farmer. It's a process. You dig a hole, you put a seed in, you put dirt on top, add water, up comes the corn. Then we had 300, you could learn that.
What the hell is he talking about?
Well, he's right. I mean, if that's all farming is, if that is all farming is putting a seed in the ground and waiting for the corn to come up, I guess anyone could probably learn to do that. It's probably easy. But the reason why people are jumping on that one this morning is because how are you going to win rural American votes if you're saying any idiot can be a farmer?
Well, I'll tell you what, you're not.
And farming's hard, right? JD, you know.
It's an elitist perspective, and it's not going to go over well with the Midwest.
So I agree. So.
At least Trump pretends to like farmers.
And then same thing with stop and frisk. The way that was structured and making that statement, basically it's a breeding ground for a couple of racist police officers to be racist.
Yeah, I'm not for it. It's illegal. And going back to the talking about farmers, I mean, this is the last person I want to hear about. Farming is Bloomberg, a billionaire who doesn't know anything. He couldn't even pick an apple from a tree. I don't want to hear him talk about farming. But listen, here's why I don't like Bloomberg. I don't like him because he reminds me a lot about Donald Trump in a lot of ways. The only thing he does, or the thing about him that is not unlike Trump, is that he actually is a billionaire. But that's another story for another show.
Trump is 100% a billionaire.
Really?
Brian.
Okay,
absolutely.
I'll make you a bet on that one. He is not worth $1 billion.
How much do you want to bet?
All the dinners that you owe me, which is probably 5. So we'll go double or nothing on that. You owe me 10 if you lose.
All right. So let's say Michael Bloomberg does get the nomination. You're sitting there. You got Bloomberg and Trump on the debate stage for the presidency. And, Trump's going to be definitely making fun of his height, right? Because that's all he's been attacking him for his height. Even though they're former friends, right, Brian? Like,
they are.
They were golf buddies, right?
I saw a photo of Bloomberg standing next to Donald Trump on the golf course, and Donald Trump looked fatter than ever. Yeah. I mean, this guy looked like he was 8 months pregnant, and then Bloomberg is standing next to him, and they're both smiling. I mean, I don't know. Listen, they've been going back and forth with each other for a while because I think Donald Trump certainly is starting to realize, especially in the last few weeks, that Bloomberg could be a real threat. But I want to talk about that. Now, why is Bloomberg, up there at 19% in national polls? Why is he on the stage? Well, a lot of people say, listen, a lot of Democrats feel like Bloomberg might have a better chance than any of the other candidates to defeat Donald Trump in 2020. I tend to disagree with that. I don't agree with that at all. I think there are a few other candidates that would actually in fact, I would even go as far as to say Joe Biden would have a better chance to beat Donald Trump than Bloomberg. I'm very interested to see this debate tomorrow night, and I'm very interested to see. Bloomberg has never been in that spot. And another thing about Bloomberg I don't like is he's not doing any interviews. He's not talking to anybody, forget about locally. He's not talking to anybody nationally. He's not even talking to CNN or MSNBC. Those would be friendly, fluffer interviews, I would imagine.
Well, I understand why he's doing that, based on the statements that we just heard him. He obviously,
you got to answer to it.
He gets ahead of himself sometimes, and he says things he shouldn't, and that's why he's not doing a lot of interviews.
I don't think you could pick a worse time for him to be on the debate stage, because he is going to get fired at from every direction tomorrow on that stage.
All right, so he's just absolutely spending millions of dollars on advertisements,
$380 million just in television,
and giving a few speeches, and then having his surrogates go out and defend him on cable news, and the guy's at 20%. Without one debate, without one real interview, so I think people, going back to your Biden thing, I think people looked at Biden. He was the guy that could defeat Trump, and he was the front runner. And then all of a sudden Iowa happens and New Hampshire happens, and it's, we need to find someone that can beat Trump. And I guess it ain't going to be Biden.
Well, guess what? They're the front runner right now on the Democratic side, which is Bernie Sanders. He is the front runner right now. Make no mistake about it. He's taking shots at Bloomberg as well. And I think a lot of the Democrats that are running resent Bloomberg for this reason and this reason alone. It's the fact that Bloomberg, a lot of people fear, is trying to buy his way into the White House, and they have a valid point.
Which he is absolutely doing.
Which I don't agree with. It's not the way it should work here. Just because you have a lot of money.
But that's how the world works now with social media, with getting any type of information in front of you in a moment's notice through whether it's TV, whether it's digital, whether it's radio. It doesn't make a difference. And Bloomberg understands. I mean, Trump understood it too, but Bloomberg doesn't. He doesn't have the charisma Trump does. He doesn't have the marketing experience. But he's worth $65 billion. He could spend $1 billion on this campaign, and it wouldn't drop his net worth up 2%.
Yep. All right, well, let's take a few quick phone calls on this. Your thoughts about Bloomberg on the stage tomorrow night. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think he's an actual, real front-runner, the fact that he's 19% nationally? Do you think he deserves to be on the stage? 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Again, that number if you want to be a part of the show, 702-257-5396. Why don't we start off with Jay? Jay, you are first up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, I think there's a little bit too much bashing of Bloomberg. I think the fact that he's a successful person who can use his own money to go towards his campaign, I don't know why it's something that's looked down upon. I mean, he didn't steal the money, he didn't earn it wrongfully, and he's going out there, he's making his case.
Okay, so let me ask you this, Jay. I get your point. I get your point, Jay. Let me ask you this. You don't have a problem with a guy this far into 2020 now who hasn't been on a stage yet ever in his career. You don't have a problem with a guy not doing any interviews, not talking to media, nobody, and then all of a sudden just spending all this money on advertising, and now he's going to be on a stage where many people know very little about him unless you live or are from New York. I have a problem with that. He hasn't been out there. I don't know a lot about him. And he said some racist things in the past about stop and frisk, and now all of a sudden he's apologizing about that. So you don't have an issue with that?
I haven't heard anything racist come from him, and I just think that if someone doesn't know who Mike Bloomberg is, it is not that hard. This guy has been in the mainstream media for a long time. He's a well-known figure. He's not some oil tycoon who nobody's heard of. I mean, if you don't know his policies on guns,
well, I
you
do.
can look it up. If you don't know his policies on environmental issues, it's out there.
How about his policy? Okay, I understand, but how about his...
What you're basically saying is he's not Ross Perot.
But what about his policy at stop and frisk back in 2013? Did you agree with the way he handled that?
The stop and frisk program actually worked. I mean, even though it had some negative consequences, the program worked generally. But like I said, some people were targeted unfortunately, there was some negative feedback. So, I mean, it's not 100%. Just like what they're doing right now in New York, the policy where they're trying to help out convicts. It's not 100%.
Well,
None
Jay,
of these
listen,
programs
I hear you, Jay. I'll say this. Listen, I have an open mind. I'm looking forward to seeing him on the debate stage tomorrow night, a setting where no one has seen him. And listen, if he does a great job and if he kills it out there tomorrow night, then I'll have a newfound respect for him. I have an open mind, and we'll just see how it goes. Jay, I do appreciate the phone call. Thank you very much.
A recently surfaced audio clip. A recently surfaced audio clip showed Mayor Bloomberg saying, "quote This enormous cohort of Black and Latino males, they don't know how to behave in the workplace." So I don't know the context in which that was said, but
that's racist.
Jay was asking if he had said anything racist.
That's flat out. That's flat out racist. I mean, it's
that
not
could definitely be construed.
It's not like Rush Limbaugh, who plays on his show. Barack the Magic Negro. It doesn't rise to that racist level.
Well, it's not set to music.
That's true. Yeah, it wasn't a parody. Maybe Bloomberg will. That's true. Maybe he'll have some music in the background. All right, let's go to Ron, 257-5396. Ron, you are next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Ron?
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Good. What's on your mind,
Been a
Ron?
while, Ron.
Well,
Don't scream.
Brian, this is your big week, man. This is the biggest week of your life. You have a chance to tell Mr. Trump, President Trump, everything you said about him behind your back over the radio. He's coming in tomorrow. Tell him how you talked about his wife, how you called her just about anything on up.
What have I called his wife?
You insinuated.
What have I called his wife?
You didn't call her anything. You
just said I did. What did I insinuate?
And all you
what did I
do
insinuate?
is insinuate. But Brian, your big week is
Ron?
coming up.
Okay.
You have insinuated that Melania Trump.
I can't hear.
Get on television. How about that?
Okay, Ron. First of all, how do you suggest we get Donald Trump to do an interview on a local radio show? Since you seem to know.
Call his people. Like
it's that easy. Wow, gosh.
Oh, sure.
Can you imagine?
You can talk about his wife behind his back. You can be able to
first
do
of all, so let me ask you a question,
you
Ron.
walk on water.
Ron. Okay, Ron. Thank you, Ron. Let me ask you a question. So anybody that criticizes Donald Trump at all or says, "Hold on, let me finish the question." Let me finish. Ron. Ron. Let me. Ron.
A lot of things about her, and I don't appreciate
Okay,
it.
Ron. Let me. Okay, well, Ron, you didn't let me finish my question. You interrupted me. Let me be.
You interrupted me.
Okay. Well, I'll pod you down or hang up on. Okay.
Do.
Okay. Goodbye. Now I'm going to hang up on you. So this is for Ron. Let me be very clear about Melania Trump. Ron, this is just for you. I have very little respect for Donald Trump's wife. First of all, the reason why I would say that is because she decided to marry Donald Trump. I'm going to start right there. Now, I'm sure she married him because of his lavish looks and his amazing personality. I'm sure that, and maybe his wonderful physique. I'm sure it had absolutely nothing to do with his money, Sure, it had nothing to do with that at all. And by the way, Donald Trump's track record with how he treats women is fantastic. So I'm sure she did a lot of homework on him as well. Number two, and this is my biggest criticism of her since Trump took office, she has this cause. Every first lady has their big cause, right? For Michelle Obama, it was kids eating healthier. That was her big cause. For Melania Trump, it's cyberbullying. When her own husband, who she doesn't, by the way, sleep in the same bed with every night, her own husband is the cyberbullier in chief. Do you know how ridiculous that makes her look? You know how ridiculous that is? Okay, so we got to take a break.
How often does Donald Trump just cyberbully someone who hasn't tried to attack him first?
All right,
it's not very often. It's funny that you're calling Donald Trump a cyberbully when simply he is just responding to being attacked. Apparently, he's not able to respond to being attacked. When you get attacked, when someone attacks you and you attack back, you're a bully, and that's not the case, Brian.
Okay, well, I have about 4 seconds to respond, so I'm not going to be able to do that. We're going to take a quick break. I'll respond in the next segment. Coming up, John also going to be doing the news. Take a quick break. Be back right after this. You're listening to the Vegas Take.